our associate producer's house, and here he comes right there. And we've been sequestered here watching dailies for, this is our second day. Day two. We have just gone through 14 hours out of 52. And our goal is to have this done in 4 days.
This is what watching hours of footage can do to you.
After we finished our 18-day shoot, it was almost like starting all over again. Okay, now what do I need to do? I have all of these takes in the can, so now I need an editor. I need to find my special effects people. I need to learn how all of this works.
Isn't it the funniest thing you've ever seen?
When does the piano drop on?
That was actually much more difficult for me than the previous half of the production was.
If this ends up on the DVD, what were you thinking? And I'm out.
I found my brilliant editor, Ken, and after he sunk up the sound from the DAT tapes, we edited for about 10 weeks. Welcome to our post-production office of Purgatory House, which is located right here in my house. Sometimes the best way to show a heightened sense of reality is with the use of visual effects. Whether it's just putting something in slow motion or speeding it up, or really tweaking the color, or doing full-blown effects where she's, in front of a blue screen floating up to heaven, and there's things that have been completely created in the computer flying down behind her.
That's a great idea.
It's exciting because we're at a point where all of these creative resources are available to filmmakers, and almost anything you dream of can be created, even with really small budgets.
And I thought that we just met him in, met the other location into this, Louis, met him into the other location, right, the podium on top. He looks down, and then we make him dissolve. Does he really have to go like that? And her point of view.
I began looking for all of my visual effects artists when my editor Ken told me about this incredible Star Wars fan film called Duality that had perfected keying on mini-DV. It was a company called Crew of Two, although there's 3 of them, and I contacted them, and we were so excited when they agreed to do our Floating to Heaven sequence. It was our first little victory in visual effects. John Clark was another one of our amazingly talented artists.
The first section I worked on was the game show. It involved creating different prize curtains which opened up with actual prizes, as if on a game show. The most complicated part was actually doing the game show audience. If you pay attention to the characters in the foreground, you may not realize that the people in the background are actually 3D animated characters. So the whole audience is digital. I actually had an audience of about 40 people that I had to light and animate in a semi-realistic way. The people are a separate layer. Then I have the layer which is actually the set, and then a layer which is the background, then a layer which is the fog, and another layer for the lights, and another layer for the cameras and blur effects. They had to each have motion, and they had to be clapping at certain times. Working out a lot of the timing of it was some of the most difficult and time-consuming stuff. Each layer is rendered separately and then composited. It would take up to 10 minutes to render each frame.
And 30 frames make up 1 second.
Literally thousands of hours of rendering went into this project. And that's just aside from the thousands of hours of actual time spent animating and masking and creating composites of all the many, many, many scenes.
Every single frame of the movie was digitally manipulated in some way. 13 visual effects artists worked on the movie, and it took almost 11 months to complete.
Silver Murray Strand. It's time to play Who Wants to Go to Heaven?
can be really difficult to pull a key on mini DV. The way it works is that you shoot something in front of an all blue background or in front of an all green background, and then you can tell the computer to take away all of the blue or all of the green. That's called keying.
What Purgatory House does is a lot of blue screening. And that was one of the biggest issues with the original XL1, is that they couldn't get the blue screen right. It can be done, it's just not as easy to do. I think what you have to understand about the mini DV format is that you can get the images you want, you just don't get them the same way. You know, it's a little bit, I think, like driving in England. You're on the wrong side of the car, but you're still going in the right direction. I think Cindy found that out over the course of the production.
Our DP, he's the one that researched exactly what you need to do to shoot blue screens with mini DV and make it work. I found our sound design team through the internet.
We're doing ADR today, and that's our supervising sound editor, Lynette. Hi.
A woman named Lynette responded to me, and she just seemed like a real go-getter. She worked at a really reputable company called Dane Tracks, and she wanted to do a feature that she thought meant something.
And there is Zhang. Hi. She's our brilliant Foley person.
We were all set to go to our little ADR booth, but something fell through, and I had all the actors scheduled to come in.
And here are some of our talented voice artists. How's the level on this? Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you a lot better.
Okay, great. We're going to do a practice one. I think they're going to play the Lord's Prayer in the headsets, and you're just going to follow along with the priest, okay?
Hopefully nobody's claustrophobic.
So Lynette was very creative, and she had a closet in her bedroom of her home. She had a whole studio there in the other room, and basically she turned it into a little sound room. She soundproofed it, and she set up a monitor right on the outside of it, and they had their little headphones in the booth, and we were in the control room in her studio.
Hello.
We got wild lines in a closet one day. Celeste once told me this story that I never understood. She said, "My voice was in a movie. When I was 2 or 3 years old, I played an old lady." And I never understood what she was talking about until this strange coincidence occurred.
My dad had this friend. He said, "I need you to get your daughter to cry so that I can put it through a reverb and make it sound all scary." It was for a horror film. So what he would do is he would play with me, and then he'd turn me upside down. And I started crying. And they got it recorded. My voice when I was 3 years old. And it's in a sound library.
As it turns out, Celeste's dad was good friends with the owner of the company that Lynette was working with. And we found Celeste's voice from 10 years earlier that had been recorded in his sound library. And we actually needed the sound of a baby crying in the movie, so Celeste's real voice is the baby cry that you hear in the movie from when she was a baby. Right about the time I finished shooting the movie, I knew I needed to start working on publicity. And I found this amazing company in Canada called Three Dogs Creative. I was a little bit concerned that they're in Canada and I'm in Los Angeles, But the internet's an amazing thing, and the distance really didn't cause any problems for us. Our designer Dave made all of our promotional materials. The first thing he came up with was our poster, and Three Dogs came up with our postcards and our press kits and everything that we needed to be professional and well presented. It's mind-blowing that somebody so far away that you've never even met could become such a huge part of our creative team. Dave made us look great and just did an amazing job. My composer's name was John Swihart.
Okay, here we are.
It was so interesting to go into his studio and watch him work. He was so fast, and I would describe to him what I had in mind, and he would come up with all these different instruments. He was just so great at capturing exactly the sound.
To the place that you never wanted to go. Forever.
After Purgatory House, John went on to do the score for Napoleon Dynamite. One of my all-time favorite experiences was when we got to go to the studio and record our own version of the song Kids in America.
My name is Michael Morris, and I'm in the band The Mandrakes that did the song Kids in America, and I played bass and sung one of the vocals in it, and the guitarist, his name is Dave McClellan, he did the guitar and the other vocal, and then the drummer is Eric Heinrich.
My associate producer and husband-to-be, Matthew Irving, told me about this great cover band, and we asked them if they would do a cover for us of Kids in America.
Sounded like a good idea to me, so we went and did it. So right now we're working on the mix of the song, and Wade, the engineer, is in there doing some sweetening on some guitar parts and stuff. When Cindy asked me about doing Kids in America, my first idea was do it kind of like Blink-182, like a fast punk kind of thing, you know. We're the kids. But when she told me that she wanted it to be kind of more dark, we had to sort of rethink the whole thing, take away the idea of how poppy the melody in the Kim Wilde song is. So the version that you heard in the rehearsal, he sings a different melody.
Okay.
Now I think he can do that, and then I would like to sing the original melody underneath it. She needed just a sort of a darker atmosphere for the scene that she is putting the song under, which is kind of sad because there's a girl dying. So you definitely don't want a happy poppy song there. What's cool is the irony of taking a happy 80s song and then twisting it around, turning it into something else that fits the brooding, kind of ironic theme of the movie.
We're the kids in America. We're the kids. We're the kids. We're the kids in America. We're the kids.
I'm Brian, and this is my wife Ann, and we own Widget Post Production, which is the sound studio we're doing the mix for Purgatory House. I was chief engineer of MGM, and we were kind of working around various other places and working on a lot of little films on our own. We kind of said, you know what, if anybody else can build a studio, why can't we? So we did. And that's kind of how it got all started out.
I was looking through the production summaries trying to find shows to bid on, and I saw Purgatory House, and I emailed Cindy a little blurb about us and what we could do.
Massey was never dead.
We mixed the movie for 8 or 10 days in Culver City.
Lucky her.
It was the first time I ever got to see the movie projected on a big screen, and it was so exciting. Ann and Brian, they really put their heart and souls into what they do.
We're obsessive about doing a good job, sometimes at the risk of losing money, but that's what we do, and our friends respect that, so they bring stuff to us.
This is Anna from Film Look. So here we are at the Film Look lab, and we're putting our Film Look process on the movie. It's Christmas time. So here we are going to our little Film Look bay, and there is our Film Look artist,
Hi.
Alan.
How are you?
So here we are in our little bay.
And we're done. So how long have you been with Film Look?
I've been working here for over 10 years. But, my boss, Bob, came up with the concept of doing Film Look almost 15 years ago. He went into the basement, his garage for a few years and came up with the Film Look processor. And ever since then, it's been in high demand.
So here's a shot of the priest at 30 interlaced frames per second.
And so, they said...
And then telecented.
Wow, it looks so much more like film.
And film has been revered for over 100 years. And so if you can come up with a concept, a process to make videotape look like film without actually having to use and go through the expense of using film, then you've got something.
There's a lot of manpower that went into doing the graphics, the 3D, the effects that are in this movie. There's very few projects that are done on mini DV on this scale. Usually these kinds of graphics are reserved for big budget projects.
It's a really exciting time to be living if you're an aspiring filmmaker, because it used to be that movies could only be made if you had a lot of money. But now it's becoming much more available to anyone with a vision and determination.
If you want it to look like film, make it look like film. If you want it to look like video, make it look like video. If you want a blue screen, blue screen. Spread the whole gamut of what this camera can do. It's pretty amazing.
The graphics were tremendous. There's so many effects, it's just going to be dazzling to actually see this up on the screen.